So if you don't A/B test your life, then you will never live your best possible life. You will never reach your highest potential and never find out who you truly are. Within this video, I will show you how to A/B test your life. And this is not just another self-improvement video or a mental masturbation. This is a mechanism validated by the most successful businesses on this planet Earth that no one ever told you how to use for your personal life. Because you should not waste another minute of not living your best life that is really meant for you, that feels meaningful and joyful every single day, all the time. I already implemented these A/B tests, and that increased my happiness level like this, the amount of money that I made like this, and also the way how content I feel about being on the right track and doing the right thing with my life. If you have a question that, then I know how you feel, and this will be the solution to this. This will give you a clear answer on how to really realize your true potential. You see, I first stumbled upon this in business. I work with a lot of 8-figure e-commerce businesses, and what I noticed is that they always relentlessly A/B test. And what does A/B testing even mean? It means that, for example, if they want to launch a new advertisement, a new video to drive sales for their product, they never just launch one video and hope it makes sales. That's what fools do. The pros make 10 variations of that, then they A/B test them against each other. They track the relevant metrics like how many people click, how many people buy, what is my ROI on this creative, and then they pick the winner. And there are often massive differences just because they maybe changed the first 3 seconds of the video. There was a minor change, but they made it. And these first 3 seconds are then often the difference between not being profitable, and over the long run, if you don't have profitable video ads in that example, you have to shut down the business because you're not going to be profitable, right? Versus having a profitable video that you can now scale to hundreds of millions of dollars. That is now obviously driven to the extreme, but at the end of the day, these are the two truths. From one person who's not A/B testing, who just tries something, it doesn't work, shuts down the business. Other person also tried that exact same video, but also 9 other variations, A/B tested it, did not think that he's smart enough to know it, but he realized that he just doesn't know. So he'll just try 10 options, and now he makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year because he A/B tested. And I can also tell you what the worst e-com businesses do that never have success. Instead of A/B testing, they just make up a theory in their own mind. They think, oh, this variation might perform best, and they just run it. But they're often wrong. And the fallacy here is that the unsuccessful ones think they're smart enough to know. And the successful ones are smart enough to realize that they just don't know. And that is the same thing in life. Are you smart enough to realize that you can't know what is right for you until you have tried it out? Which city to live in, which job, which business model, which freaking leisure activity, whatever it is in your life that you're doing. The smart and successful people in their life just try things out. The unsuccessful ones think that they can figure it out within their own mind. And that is the fallacy. That is the thing that doesn't work. They think about what is best for them for hours, days, weeks, sometimes years over a decision of what to do with their life, and then end up with a life that doesn't fulfill them at all, which makes sense if you understand one fundamental truth about life. And I will share that truth with you in a second, but before that, let me give you a story to understand this a little better. Okay, a real life example from my own life. I figured out about myself a while ago that I need a lot of solitude and a lot of time alone to function my best, to be creative, not just getting more work done, but really more valuable work. And through that, creating more value for more people through the work that I do. I then also feel better, I feel happier, I feel more present, and then I just really love life. I need that solitude. But I had been living with my girlfriend, and I had slowly been losing that solitude, and I knew I had to tell her that. I knew that I had to come up with a solution because I was never alone, and I missed that feeling of being alone and where I can be in my own creativity cocoon, where I can just create stuff and create positive things for the world. And I was like, that's not going to be easy. That's not going to be easy. And then normally you would think about this like a really hard decision, like, ooh, what do we need to do? Do I need to tell her that we live separately from now? And that's hard. It's really tough. Do I tell her to break up? That's way more tough. That's super tough. What do I do with this, right? And if you think about it like that, and you just try to think your way through, what will probably happen, and this would have happened to me as well, is that you don't come up with a solution, because all of the possible solutions that come to your mind are too scary. So what I did instead is I didn't make a hard decision. I just said, hey, you know, I really need a lot of time alone. That's just who I am. So I explained the situation honestly. You can never lose with being honest, right? And I said, let's just try this out for 2 weeks. I'll get you a ticket to your apartment to Vienna, and let's just try this out for 2 weeks and see how it goes. Maybe we do like 50-50, 50% time together, 50% time I spend alone. And we see how it goes. And we just set up that as an A/B test, as a scientific experiment. And that's what we did. And of course, at first she was sad to hear this. I expected that. I think that's normal for, if you know that the girl, she wants to spend in the best case scenario in her eyes like 24/7 of the time that's available with you, because she loves you, and that's understandable. So I of course expected that, and we still tried it out. And what happened then was I of course measured the important KPIs. I found out that, yeah, I actually did get more creative. I did get more productive. I got more stuff done, and I got ahead faster within following my mission. And that is also how I could, by the way, explain it to her in the first place, because I knew that if I say, this is important for me because I have a mission on this planet Earth, then she will understand it. And if she doesn't respect that I have a mission, then as hard as it is, we're not meant for each other anyways. So what have I got to lose there with this test? So we did the test. And now the paradox comes. The big paradox comes. Not only did I get more productive, which I already expected before, there's also something else that happened that I did not expect. Our relationship did not break through that. It did not get worse through that. Actually, what happened really fast back then is it got way better. It got way better, actually. We enjoyed the time we had with each other way more, and our relationship got better through the thing where I first, in my mind, was scared of the fact that this could end the relationship, and therefore it would have been hard to make a final decision here. But by saying, hey, I'm just gonna A/B test this, I'm not gonna overthink this with my mind, which doesn't know everything, which has fear as a shadow constantly operating in there when thinking about things like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to set up an A/B test, and we'll just see how it goes, and I'll measure and see what comes out. And I did that, and then often the paradox happens, right? Often the thing where you thought this could crumble to pieces if I do that. You set up an A/B test, and then actually it gets better. You did not expect that. You did not even think of that outcome before. And of course, all of this makes sense fundamentally, right? Because I was just more passionate about my work. I was more passionate about life in general, then got more creative. I just felt better through that. The relationship got better. Obviously, through less time, the time that you have together becomes way more valuable. So instead of having 20% quality time together all the time, now we had a little less time, but 100% quality time together. And if you ask me, if I would take 20% quality time for 10 hours or 100% quality time for 2 hours, I would always take the 2 hours, 100% quality, right? Where it's more intense. And of course, you can measure the health of a relationship also based on certain KPIs, certain clear numbers that I'm not going to get into right now, but I think you can guess what these numbers are. So all of these things got so much better, and that's something I did not expect in the beginning. And that is why it's so valuable to just test things out, to just A/B test them. Because if I would have tried to make a forever decision, I maybe would have never done anything. But by just doing this one reframe, it made the unbearable bearable. And that can often mark the difference of not taking action to taking action. That might seem like a small thing, but if this small change of course changes your course from this to this, then even though if it might seem like a small thing, the small thing becomes something really big now, because it changed the trajectory of your entire life. But there is one caveat now to this system of A/B testing. You have to measure your KPIs in order to make that A/B testing system work. That means if you, for example, launch 2 ads, going back to that, but you don't check which one has the better ROI, then it was for nothing. So to do that, you need to get clear on the top KPIs for your personal life. Things like maybe your happiness score, your productivity score, your peace of mind score. We all optimize for different things in life. Isn't that true? Some people just want to be happy. So you could have a happiness score 1 to 10, and then also apply it to something real. I'm going to show you how in a second. If you want to build something and want to help a lot of people with your business, then you of course have to measure the output. How well are you driving that business ahead? What's your productivity score? Okay, and you can measure that. Again, first on a subjective score of 1 to 10, but then also with objective numbers that don't lie. Like for example, if you create presentation slides created per hour, per day, whatever, right? You can always tie it to something real, and that makes this more tangible. If all you're optimizing for in your life is peace of mind, and you want to sit on top of the Himalaya mountains and just meditate all day long, you could have a peace of mind score. And you can also tie that to something real. Your Whoop band could tell you how long it takes you on average to fall asleep, because if your peace of mind is higher, then you will fall asleep faster, and stuff like that. You can always find some real life things that are actually happening in your life daily that you can measure, that will tell you how good these KPIs are, right? For example, again, coming back to the example of happiness, if you are extremely happy, then you will probably jump out of bed in the morning and you can't wait to do what you're about to do. If you're super depressed, you're going to stay in bed, you're going to snooze for 40 minutes. Okay, so again, the out the door time, for example, that's what I tracked for a while, is like from the moment the alarm rings to when I'm going out the door, like how long is that? Is it 7 minutes? Is this 30 minutes? Is this 45 minutes because I'm snoozing, whatever? Tracking that could also be something valuable if there's no other big variables within that. Get a little scientific about that. You can ask Claude if you have no idea what to attach to your KPI that matters for you. You say, hey, I wanna be as productive as possible because I have this dream. I want to build this thing. I want to build this business. I have this vision. How can I be as productive as possible? I can give myself a score of 1 to 10, subjective, but objective. What can I do for this productivity score to measure it within my life? And then you just, for example, give Claude everything you do on a day-to-day basis, and it will give you some good ideas on how to measure this with real life outcomes. And then you can finally start to test things, okay? If you want to figure out if you're more productive working from home or working from a co-working space or working from a cafe, then you do home 2 weeks, co-working space 2 weeks, cafe 2 weeks, and you measure these 2 numbers on a daily basis, and then you just see what the result is. And you will usually get a pretty clear result where you are more productive. And then you can keep testing things. And through testing things all the time and then reiterating and reading the data and seeing what works better for you, because there is no universal solution, right? That's also why it doesn't make sense to watch a YouTube video on how to become productive, because these might be things that work for one person, might not work for another person. Exactly the same thing in business again. Yes, I can copy someone else's winning ads, but they might not work for me. So that is why mediocre businesses, like the worst ones, they just think of something themselves, right? And they launch something, it doesn't work. Okay. Mediocre businesses, they copy the best player in the market. They just copy what they're doing, and that somewhat works usually, right? But not perfectly, because they're not in exactly the same situation as you are. So it doesn't work well, and you will never beat them. You will never have a chance in beating them because you're just copying them. So the best players in the market, they don't just make stuff up and launch it. They don't just copy. They relentlessly A/B test all the time. And that is exactly what you can do with your own life. And if you do that every day for both versions or all 3 versions of this test, and then you compare, then now you're not guessing anymore about your life. Now you have data and you can make an educated decision on how to improve your life. But there's one big caveat to this. In a real A/B test, you only test one variable at a time. That means, for example, going back to the example of ads, if you make an A/B test, you never change the headline and the visual at the same time. Because if you change the headline to something different and you also change the video in the background to something different, now you change 2 variations. And if version A now wins, you know it's better, but you don't know if it's because of the headline or because of the visual that you changed. And that's the same thing in your life, right? If you live alone in Vienna, but then you get an Airbnb together with 3 friends in Miami, well, that won't be a perfect A/B test, even if you measure all the KPIs that matter to you, because you now changed 2 variables, the location and the living arrangement, from alone to together with friends. But in my personal opinion, this test still makes sense, still make it. Even a bad A/B test is better than no A/B test, because if Miami with 3 friends is better than Vienna alone, then you at least have that info and you can at least make a decision and move closer to what actually works well for you. So always keep in mind, a bad A/B test is usually better than no A/B test. And I can imagine that this is still very hard for some of you. And it still might sometimes be hard to make that initial decision, even for an A/B test. That reframe should already make it easier. But I understand that some of these things, as I mentioned a story with my living situation before, are still sometimes scary to address. And this fear, if you let it dictate your life, then this will be the reason why you never become who you could have been. I've written a poem for that, about fear, that might help you a lot. It goes like this. You're afraid to make a choice because of that scary, relentless voice. It is the voice of fear that builds your prison without bars, that turns your maybes into scars. You know what you want, but fear doesn't want you to choose it all, because choosing could mean that you lose it all. So it paints every possible outcome so dark. It turns you away from your truth, like a dog not allowed to bark. It paints this vivid picture of bad outcomes. Fear is the opponent that no man outruns. That's why you have to run at it. And that's sometimes hard. That's why testing it out is a form of art, powerful enough to pierce fear's heart. The ones who conquer fear do it in baby steps till their path is clear. Stop trying to work it all out in your mind. The territory is of fear's kind, and fear is capable of making you blind. And life isn't there anyway to rationalize the experience away. It's there to just test it out, to measure and see what comes out. Because the purpose of life is not contemplation. It's to make a move without hesitation, to measure and see what comes out before the light goes out. So, to make a long story short, stop trying to find the answers to the questions inside of your own head. That doesn't work well. Just test both options out for a test period that you defined. A B test your life. That is the only way to live a great life, because life is not to be understood with the mind, but to be experienced with the soul.